Good morning, guys. It has been about 12 hours since we pitched our yeast, and you can see you got some kind of funky looking stuff going on the top there. That is exactly what you want to be seeing. You notice got some bubbles going on there. Very, very carefully, very easy. And then if you look up top here, looks kind of gross, but it's fine. You'll notice we got some bubbles up there. And every so often, there you go. So there's a little bit of airlock activity, which is great. So fermentation is on its way, or underway. So we'll check back in tomorrow and see what's going on. I'm just going to do a quick sniff of the airlock to see if anything's going on. Nope, smells good. Actually, it doesn't really smell like anything just yet. So this is not fermenting fast enough to be producing any sort of scent. But yeah, we'll check back in tomorrow and every day until this is done. And yeah, okay. Catch you in the next check. All right, guys. So it's been about 12 hours since I checked this morning. I'm going to do a quick check before I go to bed here. And we still have activity in the airlock. It's sped up just a bit. We're getting more bubbles. So this fermentation is well on its way. I found out that I didn't necessarily need to use my fermentation chamber because this yeast is perfectly happy in the 60s. And it is 63.2 in here. Actually, let me take the cover off. So yeah, it's in the 60s, like low 60s. So these guys are perfectly happy at room temperature in this room. And of course, it stays cool in here because that's like right up against the earth. So it stays kind of naturally chilly in this room, which is kind of cool. But yeah, fermentation is on the way. And let's do a quick sniff of the airlock to see what we're dealing with. Smells healthy. There's nothing weird about that other than just the kind of usual kind of awkward fermentation scent. But you'll learn to kind of get used to what that smells like. There's no like off flavors. No, there's no like sulfur flavors or scents rather. There's no rotten eggs. There's no barnyard. There's no anything that smells off. It just smells like apple juice. It's kind of funky a little bit, but like not bad funky. If that makes sense. But yeah, so definitely keep an eye on your fermentation. Sniff the airlock every now and then, and give a little bit of nutrients anytime it smells a little off. So yeah, okay, check it tomorrow morning. Good morning, guys. It's been 36 hours since we pitched the yeast. Still going good. It seems a little slow, but I think it's, I don't know, it's just kind of doing its thing. I would expect it to be a little bit more active than it is right now. But it's not throwing any off flavors or any off scents in the airlock here. So I'm just going to kind of let it do its thing. All right, guys. So it's been about 46 hours. It's not been the full 48 hours. I checked it this morning. I'm checking it again. So I went and I sniffed the airlock like I always do. And I am starting to notice a little bit of a funky smell. So from what I can tell, it is a little bit sulfury, which means our yeast is not happy for some reason. So usually about this far into the fermentation, what I'm thinking is going on here is they're actually running out of nutrients. So what I'm going to do as a first step is to go ahead and put a small amount of nutrients in and see if this kind of clears the smell up. So if it makes them happy again, after I add the nutrients, tomorrow morning when I check this, it should smell wonderful again. So let's go ahead and add a little bit of nutrients. All right, so I've washed and sanitized my hands. I've washed and sanitized the measuring spoon here. So what I use is yeast nutrient here. And the directions basically just say 1 to 1.5 teaspoons per gallon. So what I'm going to do is real simple. I'm just going to go ahead and pop this off. And I'm trying not to set my teaspoon down or my measuring spoon down. So that way I don't let any contamination get into it. It's kind of awkward here doing things like this. I'm just trying to be very, very careful. Okay, so I'm picking this up, making sure not to let any of our sanitizer drop into our cider. I'm going to very, very awkwardly slide this over so you guys can see better. I'm going to get 1 teaspoon. Now I have sanitized this, so I've let it dry as well. Well, almost dry. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. I'm probably going to make a mess because I realize that this teaspoon is a bit bigger than the lid or the mouth of this vessel. So we're just going to go for it. If we make a mess, that's fine. We can clean up after. Now, one thing you got to note is when you add nutrient, it does start making fizz because basically you're creating nucleation spots for the CO2 that's already in the cider. So if you have a lot of cider going, or if you don't have enough, if you don't have enough headspace in your container, this fizz will actually just blow out the top, and you don't want to do that. So just be mindful of that when you add nutrients. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave that alone. I'm not even going to shake it because I don't want to cause any more problems or any more fizziness. I don't want to blow out my airlock here, but as you can see, got crazy airlock activity now. So I'm just gonna let that do its thing. I don't even need to stir it. The fizziness should allow for the stuff to, or the nutrient to dissolve on its own. And it looks like we got some bubble issues going here. But yeah, so I'm gonna let that do its thing for a while, and I'm gonna probably check it again before I go to bed tonight, just because I want to make sure that we're taking care of the issues, and then I can have some sort of reference, because I know what it smells like now. I want to see if maybe before I go to bed it smells a little bit better, and then we'll check again tomorrow morning to see if that addresses the issue. And if it doesn't, then we're going to have to consider something else and maybe try some other things to help get it back to smelling good, or as good as fermentation can smell at least. All right, guys, it is now about 10:30 p.m. I'm going to switch over to hours and days rather than 12, 24, 36, 48 hours, all that stuff, because that's confusing to me, and I'm tired. And I'm just going to do this. Anyway, earlier, before stream, it was about 6:37 when I checked the cider, and it was putting off that kind of weird smell, and we put in the nutrients. Of course, you guys saw it. So I'm going to check and see if it's still putting off any sort of weird smells. That actually knocked the weird smell completely out. So anytime you have any weird smells coming out of your airlock, that means you either need to adjust the temperature, give it some nutrients, or give it some oxygen, anything basically. It just means there's something you're not doing right, and you need to try to figure out what that is. I know that my temperatures are controlled in here, so the next thing is to check the nutrients, and adding nutrients has really actually smells good now. It's not even like barnyardy at all, not musky at all or weird. No sulfur, no anything. This actually smells really tasty. So hopefully that fixed everything. So, all right, guys, I'm going to go to bed, and then tomorrow morning we're going to check again. And yeah, I mean, it's still actively fermenting. Yeah, you can see it bubbling pretty well there. It's happy. Airlock activity, of course. And we're just going to continue to monitor it. It's just a process. So I'll catch you guys tomorrow morning. All right, good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday morning. It's been about 2.5 days since we pitched. It was Sunday evening when I pitched the yeast. We're still actively fermenting. I just sniffed the airlock, and everything smells quite nice. So this is still doing quite good. All right, so it's Wednesday evening around 7 o'clock. I'm about to go stream. But I'm noticing something interesting. The airlock is starting to slow down. Not getting as many bubbles. Still going, but it's basically coming towards the end of the fermentation process. And you can tell because we got a lot of what they call lees that are dropping out in the bottom there. And as soon as this gets done fermenting, or at least once it gets close, probably this weekend sometime, I'll be racking it off of that into one of the empty glass bottles that I have. Just get it off that, because that's dead yeast. That's proteins and stuff from the original cider and everything. We don't want it sitting on that for too long, because there's a certain term, autolysis. I forget exactly what the term is, but basically, if the yeast runs out of sugars to eat, they'll actually start trying to consume that at the bottom, and it'll throw some really bad flavors into the cider, and you do not want that. So I should be safe until this weekend, or maybe tomorrow night. I don't know. I'll judge it as it goes. But very, very soon we'll be racking this into our secondary vessel. So yeah, exciting. All right, guys, so it is now Thursday morning, and I'm kind of excited here because I don't know if you can tell in the video, but the cider, you can tell it looks like it's a bit brighter. It means it's starting to clarify a little bit. Try to say clear and clarify at the same time. But you'll notice the leaves are really starting to get thick down there, and you can see that it's starting to get a bit more, not opaque, translucent. So that means that the cider's almost done. We're still getting a little bit of bubble activity. Airlock is still going once every few seconds. Yeah, it's barely bubbling. So in the next day or so, this needs to be racked. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to let this set one more day. And tomorrow, probably on lunch, I have about an hour. I'll probably go ahead and rack this off into our secondary, since I got one sitting there. I'll just make sure today that this thing's all washed and ready to go, and we can move on to getting this thing racked over, so that way we can get it off the lees and we don't get any sort of weird flavors being thrown into the cider from that. So yeah, fermentation's almost done. I'm super excited. All right, it is now Thursday evening, and same thing as I saw this morning. Still, it's looking even brighter than it was this morning. Definitely thickening up the leaves at the bottom. Same thing, the bubbles have slowed almost to a crawl. Not a lot of airlock activity. So pretty much primary fermentation of this is almost done. And I think tomorrow will be perfect time to rack this out. I'm going to go ahead and do one final check for this video tomorrow morning, just to kind of continue with that. And then tomorrow afternoon, I'll go ahead and rack this off, and I'll share that with you guys in another video. All right, guys, super exciting day today. I'm going to keep this short because I don't think much has changed since yesterday. But just final check before we do the racking later today. Still looking pretty bright. Maybe a little bit yet more than yesterday. It's still bubbling just a little bit, but I think it's fine. Enough to take it off the lees. And obviously very, very little airlock activity. But yeah, so that's pretty much it for fermentation. Next video, we're going to work on getting my stuff cleaned up here. And then, yeah, we're going to rack this off the lees and get it into secondary fermentation? Just get into the secondary vessel, basically. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this process of the fermentation of batch 50, and I'll see you in the next video.